Most people believe honesty is simply about telling the truth, but when it comes to relationships, honesty is often filtered through fear, emotion, and self-protection. And that's why there are certain questions women rarely answer honestly, not because they want to deceive, but because the truth feels too vulnerable, too complicated, or too risky to say out loud. Stay with me, because once you understand why this happens, you'll stop taking things personally, stop feeling confused, and start seeing relationships with clarity instead of frustration. Let's begin with something important that many men misunderstand. When a woman avoids answering a question directly, it doesn't automatically mean she's lying. More often, it means she's protecting an emotional truth she doesn't fully understand herself. Psychologists like Dr. Harriet Lerner and Brené Brown have explained this many times. People don't hide the truth to manipulate others. They hide it to protect their sense of safety. Women, especially, are emotionally wired to preserve harmony and avoid conflict, especially in close relationships. So when a question threatens emotional balance, insecurity, or connection, honesty becomes frightening. Now consider this common question men ask, "Do you really like me?" On the surface it sounds simple, but for many women answering honestly feels dangerous. If she says yes too strongly, she fears becoming emotionally exposed. If she says no clearly, she fears hurting you or being judged. And if she's unsure, admitting uncertainty makes her feel weak or unstable. So instead of a direct answer, she gives something softer, vaguer, or safer. This isn't dishonesty, it's emotional self-defense. One of the biggest reasons women struggle to answer certain questions honestly is that they are often still processing their own feelings. Unlike men, who tend to compartmentalize emotions, women experience emotions in layers. A woman can feel attraction, fear, curiosity, doubt, and hope all at once. Asked a direct question that demands a clear answer, she may not yet have clarity within herself. Esther Perel, a leading relationship therapist, explains that desire and emotion don't follow logic. They unfold with time. So when you demand clarity too early, you force a woman to answer before she understands herself. Another question women rarely answer honestly is, what do you really want in a man? You'll often hear general answers: kindness, confidence, communication, but these are safe answers. The deeper truth is more personal and more emotionally risky. A woman may want emotional strength but fear saying it because it sounds like weakness on her part. She may want leadership but fear sounding dependent. She may want consistency but fear admitting she's afraid of abandonment. So she answers in socially acceptable terms instead of emotional truth. Women are also conditioned from a young age to avoid being judged. Society has long placed expectations on how women should feel, act, and express desire. Because of this, many women learn to filter their honesty to avoid criticism. When asked questions about attraction, commitment, or emotional needs, honesty can feel like exposure, and exposure feels unsafe unless there is deep trust. That's why women open up slowly, and only when they feel emotionally safe. Let's talk about another question women rarely answer honestly. Why did your last relationship end? Many women will soften the truth here, not because they're hiding wrongdoing, but because they fear being misunderstood. They may still carry guilt, shame, or unresolved emotions. They may worry that honesty will change how you see them. So instead of sharing the emotional complexity, they simplify the story. Psychologists call this narrative protection. We reshape our stories to preserve dignity and emotional safety. Another difficult question is, are you over your past? This question assumes healing is linear. But emotional healing doesn't work that way. A woman may be mostly healed but still triggered by certain memories. She may feel strong one day and vulnerable the next. Admitting this truth can feel risky because she doesn't want to appear broken or unstable. So she gives the answer she thinks you want to hear, not because she wants to deceive you, but because she wants to be accepted. One of the most avoided questions is about attraction itself. When a man asks, "Are you attracted to me?" the honest answer might be complicated. Attraction can grow, it can fluctuate, it can exist alongside fear or hesitation. Saying yes feels like a commitment. Saying no feels like rejection. So many women choose ambiguity. According to attachment theory, women with anxious or avoidant attachment styles often struggle to verbalize attraction because it makes them feel emotionally exposed. Now let's address something important for men over 60. Many of you were raised in a time when communication was more direct and roles were clearer. Modern emotional dynamics can feel confusing. But here's the truth. Women today are more emotionally aware, but also more emotionally cautious. They have experienced disappointment, betrayal, or emotional burnout. That history shapes how honestly they answer questions. Honesty now requires safety, patience, and trust, not pressure. Another question women struggle with is, what are you afraid of in relationships? This question touches the core of vulnerability. Many women fear abandonment, emotional neglect, or being taken for granted. But admitting these fears can feel like handing someone the power to hurt them. So instead of honesty, they deflect, joke, or minimize. Brené Brown calls this armor, emotional strategies we use to protect ourselves from pain. Women also avoid answering honestly when they sense judgment. If a question feels like a test, honesty shuts down. For example, why don't you text back faster? May sound innocent, but it implies criticism. When a woman feels judged, her nervous system activates protection mode. She may justify, deflect, or avoid rather than answer truthfully. Emotional safety always comes before honesty. There's also a biological component. Studies in psychology show that women are more sensitive to emotional cues and relational tension. This sensitivity helps them nurture relationships, but it also makes them cautious. When a question threatens connection, their instinct is to preserve the bond, even if that means softening the truth. It's also important to understand that women often communicate indirectly, not to confuse men, but to maintain harmony. This style of communication values emotional tone over factual precision. So when you ask a direct question and expect a direct answer, you may miss the emotional message underneath. Listening for tone, emotion, and context matters more than words alone. Another question women rarely answer honestly is about future commitment. When asked, "Where do you see this going?" Many women feel pressure. They may not be ready to define the future, but they also don't want to close the door. So they answer cautiously. This isn't manipulation. It's uncertainty mixed with hope. Now here's a key insight every man should understand. Women are most honest when they feel emotionally safe and not rushed. Honesty grows with trust. It grows when a woman feels accepted even if her truth is messy, uncertain, or imperfect. When men respond calmly instead of reactively, women open up naturally. Men often believe that asking the right question will get the truth. But in reality, it's not the question that unlocks honesty. It's the emotional environment. When a woman feels respected, not interrogated, understood, not judged, safe, not pressured, her honesty emerges on its own. In the next part, we'll explore the specific emotional triggers that shut honesty down, how men unknowingly sabotage truthful communication, and exactly what to do instead if you want real answers without conflict or confusion. Because when you understand why women struggle with honesty, you stop demanding it and start earning it. To truly understand why women avoid answering certain questions honestly, we have to look at what shuts honesty down at the emotional level. One of the biggest honesty killers in relationships is pressure. When a woman feels rushed to define her feelings, rushed to commit, rushed to explain herself, or rushed to give certainty, her nervous system reacts defensively. Pressure makes honesty feel dangerous. Instead of clarity, it produces caution. Instead of openness, it produces silence. This is not intentional deception. It is emotional self-protection. Psychologists explain that when the brain senses emotional threat, it prioritizes safety over truth. That's why calm conversations produce honesty, while tense ones produce avoidance. Another major factor is fear of disappointing the man she cares about. Many women have been taught, directly or indirectly, that they are responsible for other people's feelings. So when a question might hurt you, upset you, or change how you see her, honesty feels like cruelty. She may believe she's being kind by softening the truth. For example, when asked, "Do you see a future with me?" She may genuinely care for you but still feel uncertain. Saying, "I don't know," feels harsh, so she offers a vague response instead. Not because she wants to mislead, but because she doesn't want to wound. There's also the fear of being misunderstood. Women know that emotional truths can sound very different once spoken aloud. Something that feels nuanced inside can sound harsh, cold, or selfish when said plainly. So instead of risking misinterpretation, many women choose safer language. This is especially common in women who have previously been punished emotionally for being honest, dismissed, mocked, argued with, or abandoned. Over time, they learn that honesty costs them peace. Another reason women struggle with honest answers is internal conflict. A woman can want closeness and independence at the same time. She can feel attracted and cautious simultaneously. She can enjoy your presence while still guarding her heart. When asked a direct question, she may not know which feeling to voice. Men often think honesty means certainty, but emotional honesty often includes contradiction. And admitting contradiction feels uncomfortable, even shameful. So she simplifies. Men also unknowingly sabotage honesty by reacting emotionally to the truth. If a woman shares something difficult and the man becomes defensive, angry, withdrawn, or argumentative, her brain records that moment. Next time, she won't risk honesty again. This is something relationship experts like John Gottman emphasize strongly. How you respond to vulnerability determines whether it will ever be offered again. One negative reaction can close the door for years. Another overlooked reason is that women are often still discovering their truth. Emotions change, desires evolve, attraction deepens or fades. When a woman says something today and feels differently tomorrow, she fears being labeled inconsistent or dishonest. So instead of answering directly, she waits until she feels more certain. Silence becomes safer than evolving honesty. Let's also talk about social conditioning. Many women are taught that being too direct is unfeminine, aggressive, or unkind. They are rewarded for being agreeable, flexible, and accommodating. So when a question requires blunt honesty, it clashes with years of conditioning. Choosing softer language feels more natural than stating raw truth. Now here's where men can shift everything. If you want honest answers from women, stop asking questions that demand certainty before safety exists. Stop asking questions that feel like evaluations or tests. And most importantly, stop reacting emotionally to answers you don't like. Honesty flourishes in calm presence. When a woman sees that you can hear difficult truths without losing control, she begins to trust you with more. Another powerful shift is learning to listen beneath the words. Women often communicate emotional truth indirectly. Tone, timing, consistency, and behavior often tell you more than explicit statements. Instead of focusing on what she says, notice what she does over time. Patterns reveal truth more accurately than words under pressure. It's also important to give women permission to be uncertain. When you say things like, "It's okay if you're still figuring things out," or "You don't have to have all the answers," you lower the emotional stakes. This invites honesty naturally. Removing pressure creates safety. Safety creates truth. Let's address one of the hardest questions women avoid answering honestly. Am I enough for you? This question carries enormous emotional weight. It touches insecurity, self-worth, and fear of rejection. Many women avoid answering directly because they don't want to hold that kind of power over someone. They also fear that if they say yes, they're promising permanence, and if they say no, they're causing pain. So they avoid clarity altogether. Women are also more likely to answer honestly when they feel respected as individuals rather than evaluated as partners. When questions come from curiosity rather than fear, honesty follows. When questions come from insecurity, women feel trapped. Another truth men need to understand is that honesty is often delayed, not denied. A woman may not be ready to share something today, but that doesn't mean she never will. Emotional safety accumulates. Trust builds slowly. And when it does, honesty deepens naturally. It's also helpful to understand that women are more honest when they feel emotionally regulated. Asking difficult questions during conflict, stress, or emotional overwhelm is almost guaranteed to fail. Timing matters. Calm moments invite truth. Emotional storms shut it down. Now let's talk about what honesty actually looks like in healthy relationships. It's not brutal. It's not constant. It's not immediate. It's gradual, layered, and responds. Women reveal truth as they feel safer, not as they are interrogated. When men accept this, communication improves dramatically. Men over 60 often bring wisdom, patience, and emotional depth into relationships. These qualities are powerful when used correctly. When you stay calm, grounded, and non-reactive, women sense maturity, and maturity feels safe. Safe men hear truth. One of the most important shifts is understanding that honesty is not something you extract. It's something you receive. You don't force it. You don't demand it. You create space for it. And when a woman feels that space, she fills it willingly. Let's be clear. Women are not dishonest by nature. They are cautious by experience. Every time honesty costs them peace, safety, or connection, they learn to protect themselves. When you become the man who doesn't punish truth, you become the man who hears it. So if you want women to answer honestly, start by being emotionally steady. Respond with curiosity, not judgment. Accept complexity. Allow uncertainty. Respect boundaries. And remember that emotional truth often arrives in pieces, not declarations. The real reason women won't answer certain questions honestly isn't manipulation, secrecy, or games. It's fear of vulnerability without safety. When you remove that fear, honesty follows naturally. And here is the final truth every man needs to know. Women are most honest with the man who makes them feel emotionally safe, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Become that man, and you won't need to ask harder questions. The answers will come to you freely.